Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? We know one of the really disappointing parts of the Saints' win on Sunday was the injury to Payton Turner. An injury that, as Dennis Allen told us, was likely will require surgery for turf toe. It'll keep Payton Turner out for some time. That's massively disappointing, as we had grand expectations for this guy who's a former first-round pick and just has been unfortunately injury-prone his entire career. And naturally, the Saints had a decision to make. Do you ride with signing one of your players off the practice squad? Do you activate Isaiah Foskey? Or do you go search for a veteran free agent you could bring in? And any of those options seem to be on the table. They did work out former first-round pick Takk McKinley, remember, who was with the Atlanta Falcons. But they also worked out Terrell Lewis and decided to sign the former Alabama Crimson Tide edge. Ian Rappaport had the report first, with surgery looming for Payton Turner. New Orleans Saints are signing former Bears edge Terrell Lewis to their practice squad. So, quick background here on Lewis for those that aren't familiar. So Lewis went to Alabama. When he initially signed with Alabama in 2016, he was Terrell Hall, and then as a sophomore changed his name to Terrell Lewis. He was a starter on that Alabama team in 2019 that Burrow and the boys went and beat in Tuscaloosa. So after the 19 season, he was a third-round pick of the Rams in 2020. I think 84th overall, so high draft pick. He just happened to go to a place where they brought in Von Miller, and they had Aaron Donald, and they had Michael Brockers, and he was just really overshadowed on a very star-studded defensive line there in L.A. He played 8 games as a rookie, played in 11 games each in 2021 and 2022, made 7 total starts during that time, but obviously he was behind Von Miller on that championship team. It wasn't going to be a great opportunity for him to get in there and start. Hasn't been super productive, just 6 sacks in 3 seasons on his career. The Rams let him go after 2022, signed with the Bears, was on their practice squad. They released him, so he's a free agent. Saints worked him out, and they offered him a contract. So I love the fact that you have a guy that's played on a defensive line with some of the best in the NFL in all time, guys like Aaron Donald, guys like Von Miller. I love the fact that he's a Super Bowl champion, was on that Rams team in 2021 that won the Super Bowl and beat the Bengals. So I love getting guys that have been to the pinnacle, that knows what it's like to be in a locker room that is a championship locker room and culture and all that stuff, because the Saints value that. They value culture. So to that extent, I like it. I'd be lying if I said I had this grand expectation when I'm looking at a guy that in 3 years has played in 30 games with 7 starts, has 6 career sacks, and only 40 tackles, and the team that used a third-round pick on him cut him. The Bears signed him, and then they let him go from the practice squad. So there's a reason, right? Once you get to this point where you can't catch on, it's very rare that you find the place where it clicks and you hang on. We were talking yesterday about Al Woods. That was Al Woods' journey. The Saints used a 4th-round pick on him. They cut him, and he bounced around for several years, just practice squad, different team year, and then finally he caught on and spent a lot of time in Seattle, a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and has become a really good NFL player for 13 years. So that happens. I don't know that I'm necessarily predicting it here, but the real interesting thing for the Saints is, what direction do they go? Like, let's start with what you know on your defensive line. You got Cam Jordan, obviously, who's one starter at one end, and then Carl Granderson is starting at the other end. And Carl Granderson, I know we've talked about it, but a big year for Granderson is going to put himself in position for a big payday after the season. It's a contract year for Carl Granderson. If he ends up cementing himself as a starter opposite Cam Jordan, has a really productive year, he's going to make a lot of money. He's currently on a 2-year deal, the second year of a 2-year deal that was a total of $5.2 million. So you're getting a bargain basement deal right now for a guy that's been a good defensive end. But their backups are the bigger question. So Tano Passanio is one of them, and it was Payton Turner, the other one. So what are your options? Okay. We just talked about Terrell Lewis, who probably ambitious to think that he's going to sign with the team on Wednesday and be ready to roll on Monday Night Football. That's hard to imagine. It's hard to get to that point, that he would be healthy and he would be on the 53 and active on game day. That's hard to get there. But he could. You've got three other options. One, and the one that would feel like the most obvious, is Kyle Phillips. So Kyle Phillips had a good preseason, and he didn't make the 53, but the Saints did sign Kyle Phillips to their practice squad. 6'4", 277, played collegiately out of Tennessee, was an undrafted free agent, signed with the Jets back in 2019, and he's played in 29 games with 8 starts. So this is the guy that has played in NFL games, was with you in the preseason, has been with you all along. He's got the most experience, the most skins on the wall, all that stuff, been with you, like all that stuff. It makes the most sense that Kyle Phillips would be the guy that you would activate on game day. Nico Lalos was one of the talks of camp because in that second preseason game, he balled out. He had 4 sacks, led the NFL in sacks in the preseason, and this is another guy who physically looks the part, 6'5", 270. He's what you want in those big ends. Was with the XFL Seattle Sea Dragons in the spring, so he played ball in the spring, got reps, and then is now on the Saints practice squad. Was with the Giants in 2020 when he was coming out of Dartmouth. Played in 6 games as a rookie, so he's been on an NFL field. He's played in 6 games, as we mentioned, but again, not nearly as much experience as you've got with Kyle Phillips. And then the other option is Isaiah Foskey. And Dennis Allen was asked point blank in his media availability, I believe this is the Monday media availability, about the opportunity here for the second-round pick.
An opportunity's opened up for him. Obviously we have a couple of, options, also on the practice squad. And so we'll see, what we feel like is the best move for our team. But certainly, look, anytime somebody faces an injury and are going to be out for any significant amount of time, it opens a door for somebody else to take advantage of. And so, I think it's certainly an opportunity for him.
I would love to think that Foskey this week could go make plays and earn that spot. When you invest a high second-round pick, a pick in the 30s, which by extension to some could be a first-round pick. You took Brzee with your first-round pick and Foskey with your early second-round pick. So your intention was to go solidify your defensive front with these 2 guys. And we barely mentioned Foskey's name in the preseason. And then he's a healthy scratch. He's a healthy inactive week 1. That's disappointing. There's no other way to say it. It's not to say he's got no potential, but when you start thinking about guys that you drafted that high that were healthy inactives, I start to think of Stanley Jean-Baptiste. I start to think of Robert Meacham in his rookie season. That's a problem. This is a guy that you need to be able to count on to impact your team when you use that much draft capital on a player. Now, saying that isn't automatically, magically going to make Isaiah Foskey a better player. But what the Saints elect to do on Monday Night Football against Carolina is going to be very telling about what they feel about Isaiah Foskey right now. Maybe him being a week 1 healthy and active tells you the story. But if now you tell me there's a couple of practice squad guys and a dude you just signed off the street that are all ahead of him, they're telling you they don't want him anywhere near a field. And this is probably just going to be a redshirt year for a guy you used a very high draft pick on. So a lot of expectations for Foskey. Curious to see how he manages this weekend if he takes advantage of that opportunity. But Terrell Lewis, the Saints have added, Nico Lalos, Kyle Phillips, guys who've played in NFL games. And, you have 3 guys who've played in NFL games, who have skins on the wall, 2 of them who have been with your team now throughout training camp. And then you've got the wild card of Isaiah Foskey and what he might be able to do this week with the door open. So we'll follow that. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.